Well, Sean, again, my name is John Paris. I'm the chair of the Asian American Group's Endorsement Committee. On behalf of myself, our president, Mike Viswani, and our executive vice president, Kevin Fung, we appreciate you taking time out of this now Sunday evening
it's my pleasure.
to join us for our general election interviews. For individuals who are watching this at a later date, this is Chris Lyttle, who is
Sean.
Excuse me. Chris Lytle is actually a UFC fighter.
Oh, yes.
And I apologize. At least I got your last name right, and
right.
bollocked your first name.
That's quite all right.
Sean Lytle, who is running. He's a Democrat who is running for the seat in Assembly District 37.
Right.
Just to give you a little background on us, the Asian American Group, or AAG, has been in existence for over 20 years. We serve as somewhat of a penumbra organization for numerous other Asian groups that are up throughout the greater Las Vegas Valley.
Okay.
Mike's been our president for the greater part of the last 20 years or so, which is why he looks so tired all the time.
That's all right.
We've been doing general election and primary election endorsements for the last 8 years.
Okay.
Doing panel-style interviews such as this for races from the United States Senate all the way down to municipal court races. We plan on releasing our endorsements definitely by the end of the month.
Okay.
Well in advance of your deadline of early voting, which is October 22nd. But by the end of the month, we will definitely have all of our endorsements out for your race as well as all of the others. So that's enough about us. Really, we're here to learn about you, and more importantly, give the voters an opportunity to learn more about you as well. So our first question is this, Sean. Why have you decided to run for this particular race at this particular time?
Okay, it's a great question, and there's two parts to the answer if you'll indulge me. So the first part is the issue that really drove me into the political realm this year. I am a first-time candidate. I'm a family lawyer. I practice almost exclusively in the family court system. Have my own practice. And one of the issues, there are a lot of issues in the family court that need some legislative attention, but the one that really stands out right now is the adult guardianship situation in our state. We have an adult guardianship system that it's no secret, it's profoundly broken. And as a result, some of our most vulnerable citizens, most of them seniors, but not all of them, also some disabled adults, folks who really should be getting some extra care and attention are at best falling through the cracks, and at worst being subject to all sorts of financial abuse of various forms. So thankfully, the Supreme Court of our state has recognized that adult guardianship is an area that needs some legislative attention, and they have put together a commission that's charged with making recommendations on how to fix those problems. But at the end of the day, those are just recommendations. And it's going to fall to the legislature in the next session to vet those recommendations and then to implement the good ones and to discard the bad ones. I thought, as a family practitioner, as someone who represents seniors and disabled adults and children, folks who are in need of protection, that we ought to have at least one or two practitioners in Carson City for the next session. Folks who know what they're looking at when those recommendations come to the legislature and know what those will look like in practice in the trenches. So that was the issue that really made me decide this was an important session for me to sort of step up. On the political side, I'm in District 37. District 37 was a district that was held by Marcus Conklin, a Democrat, for a very long time. That came to an end in 2012 when he was narrowly defeated by Wes Duncan. Wes Duncan served one term and then went up to work in Adam Laxalt's office just after winning re-election. And so as a result, he was replaced by an appointee by the name of Glenn Trowbridge, who's a very reasonable, wonderful man. I consider him a friend. And Glenn, as a reasonable, respectable, thoughtful Republican, was targeted by a certain faction within his own party to be challenged in his primary this year. So knowing that was occurring, I thought that it was important for me to be in there either to keep Glenn sort of on his thoughtful, moderate message on the campaign trail should he win in the primary, or to challenge his far-right challenger who ultimately did defeat him in the primary. So I wanted to make sure as a resident of District 37 that we had a reasonable alternative to the gentleman who ultimately prevailed in that primary, Jim Marchand. So that's why I jumped into the race this year.
I believe, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I'm looking at my notes. Did you go to school here in Las Vegas?
I did not.
Okay.
No, I moved to Las Vegas full-time in 2009.
Okay. Since the time that you've been here, obviously you've seen, I mean, that was the beginning of the downfall.
Right.
And one of the areas that's suffered the most has been education.
Yes.
Since everyone's budgets were cut, but it disproportionately affects the educational budgets. What ideas do you have more short-term to try and turn us around from our current ranking of 47th-ish in the nation?
Yeah. It's going to be a very difficult task. Per pupil spending always, and no matter where you look, per pupil spending is an important piece of turnaround stories, and it's an important piece of all success stories when it comes to education. The legislature did some good work on that in the last session, some good bipartisan work on that. The problem, as I see it, is that that funding came with price, and the price was the ESAs, vouchers. To me, taking $5,100 or $5,200 out of a school system that already ranks very low in per pupil spending is not a good way to steer us towards success in the future. But the framework is there in terms of providing additional funding in the classrooms. I think we're going to have to take a really hard look at this proposal to break up the school district. I think that Pat Skorkowski's heart is exactly in the right place when it comes to that, and I know him to be someone who really deeply cares about the kids in our education system. But as a parent of a student in that system, and as potentially a legislator, I have some concerns about how that's going to be implemented and the role that support staff and principals are going to play in all of that. My mom was a school teacher. I was raised by a school teacher, and I know that it's not just about the spending that the teachers have access to. That there's an infrastructure around that we also need to be paying attention to. So, priority number one, to answer your question directly, if the Supreme Court allows the ESA program to continue, which is still an open question, I think that we as a legislature are going to have to undo that. I think that's a profound mistake. And everyone seems to agree that it's a profound mistake, except for a very small contingent. So that's priority number one. I think that ultimately, too, we have to expand the advances that we admittedly made on education funding in the last session. We have to expand those advances to higher education. We absolutely have to make sure that we're creating a continuum and a pipeline there whereby students who maybe are getting better opportunities at the middle school, high school level, that they know that there's a place for them in Nevada to go and to succeed. And I think we've started on that path with the medical school and some other things, but there's a lot more work to be done.
After the top two issues that we've encountered, and I'm sure you've encountered the same thing going door to door in your district, top two issues people seem to have are the education system,
yep,
and then general economy, jobs, job growth, things of that nature.
Yep.
On the job front, we had Tesla moving up north,
yep,
we had Faraday in the south, we have Switch down here. What ideas do you have to try and capitalize on whatever residual momentum there may be to move in these either bigger banner businesses or more numerous smaller businesses and trying to attract them here to Southern Nevada?
Well, the priority, I think, needs to be not just attracting businesses. Businesses are great.
I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, it's quite right.
Can we turn that down just a smidge? As much as I love
just a few minutes,
Alan Jackson,
I really like the soundtrack though that we've got going on here.
I don't mind it.
Right.
but for those, I can kind of hear you relatively well, but since we are recording this,
Absolutely.
maybe we'll edit this part out. I don't know.
No, that's
we'll
fine.
keep it in. We'll keep it.
Keep it. You should keep it.
There we go.
Yeah. See?
I love being, Captain Buzzkill over here, huh?
That's quite right.
But
Well, at least we know what we're doing after the interview. Because there's clearly a party going on.
we're two-stepping.
Right. Exactly.
Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate that. So, and I'm sorry, to refresh you, the question was bringing businesses to Southern Nevada.
And listen, bringing businesses to Nevada is great. Employing Nevadans is far more important to me than luring businesses here who are going to bring employees in from elsewhere. And it kind of goes along with what we were just talking about in terms of expanding the advances we've made in higher education, or in K through 12 to higher education. We need to be doing a better job of creating career-ready students in our state. And that involves funding. It involves expanding, I think, on the charter school model in our state. It involves expanding on the technical and trade school options that people have. Tesla and Faraday are great companies to have. But if we don't have workers here for them, if we don't have the folks here with the skills that they need, then long term, that's not going to be necessarily the benefit to Nevada that could be. I'm all for bringing in business, but we need to make sure that we are building and sustaining a workforce here for those businesses, and that has everything to do with education. It has everything to do with true educational choice, which is not, when I say that, that's not code for vouchers. When I say educational choice, I'm talking about trade and technical schools. I'm talking about charter schools. I'm talking about expanded access to certain private school programs as well. But we have to make sure that we are producing career-ready graduates who can go into a Tesla or a Faraday and not only work on an assembly line for that company, but who have a pathway to leadership in that company so that those jobs and those families stay here and are taken care of.
I'm sorry, I've been asking most of the questions. Kevin, go for it.
So, did I get this right that you are against voucher?
I am.
Perfect.
Unequivocally.
Perfect.
Well, hell, that was a softball.
Right.
No, it is, it's crazy. It's nuts that breaking up the school system and we're leaving a whole bunch of kids behind.
Yes.
That's really leave them behind, with less budget and with less and everything.
Absolutely. And to be a little bit cynical about it, but that's part of politics, right? It's cynicism. Sometimes, I think there's a strong argument to be made that it's welfare for the wealthy. It's providing a benefit to folks that don't need the benefit.
Yeah, if they want to go another school, go ahead by all means.
Right.
But leave the money.
Right. Absolutely.
That's it.
That's it? That was the only question? Give him another softball.
Right.
What's your take on the personal opinion? What's your take on the gun rights?
Okay. Wow, we went from softball to hot button, hot potato, right? So I'll be really clear about this, as clear as I can be. We have an epidemic of gun violence in this country, and I'm not 100% sure what the solution to that problem is, but I'm 100% sure that the solution is not doing nothing. And so I think that we have to take some incremental steps on our way to what I hope will be some sort of gun violence moonshot down the road. But before we get there, we have to try some things. And one of the things that we have to try is we have to close the background check loophole. I hope the voters will do that, and it looks like the voters are largely in favor of question 1. We have seen in other states where they have implemented similar legislation that gun violence doesn't magically disappear, and I have no illusions that that's what we're going to accomplish in Nevada. However, what we have seen is a significant decrease in certain kinds of gun violence. most importantly in my line of work, domestic violence. Domestic gun violence has gone down in states where we've closed the background check loophole. Violence against law enforcement officers has gone down in states where they've closed the background check loophole. Before I was a family lawyer, I worked for a big national firm, and I represented law enforcement officers in civil rights cases, and they were my clients and my friends, and the landscape that they encounter here in Las Vegas every day is a very scary one. If we can keep women and children safer, and we can keep law enforcement safer by closing the background check loopholes, we should absolutely do that. But I don't think we should stop there. I'm not in favor of repealing or amending the Second Amendment, but I am in favor of treating the right to bear arms as the profound responsibility that it is, and all of the obligations that are pertinent to a responsibility like that. Meaning, we shouldn't shy away from licensure requirements, and we shouldn't shy away from training requirements, and we shouldn't shy away from insurance requirements. The fact of the matter is, insurance is one area where states can do a lot of interesting work because it is a state-controlled industry. We can argue all day about what we should do at the federal level, but I'm running for the Nevada Assembly, and I think in the Nevada Assembly, we can take a look at the fact that here in Nevada, as in elsewhere, if you have a big scary dog, maybe your homeowner's insurance costs a little more. Likewise, if you've got an arsenal of handguns in your home, maybe your homeowner's insurance ought to be a little bit more expensive. And those are the kinds of things that we can look at, those incremental steps that we can take along the way. What we cannot do is what we have been doing for the last 10 plus years, which is just put our heads in the sand and say, well, yeah, we have a gun violence problem, but, we can't solve the whole problem, so let's do nothing. And that approach has to end.
Somewhat.
You're okay with that one? Okay. Sean, the interviews go much more quickly when we have only one person as opposed to two.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Even with our musical interlude there. So why don't we finish up with this? Give us a minute or two. Yeah. Why are you the better candidate for Nevada Assembly District 37?
I'll kind of end where we started. Adult guardianship, senior issues are first and foremost on my list of what brought me into this race. District 37 encompasses Sun City, Summerlin, the largest community of retirees in the state, one of the largest communities of retirees in the nation. I know what those folks are facing in their everyday lives. I listen to them, and I listen to them before I listen to the political pundits, and before I even listen to my own party on certain issues. Those folks are profoundly important to me, and I have the background and the expertise to take their concerns to Carson City in a meaningful way. The other reason that I'm the better candidate in this race is because, as I just said, I'm willing to listen, and I'm willing to hear people out and do what's best for Nevadans, rather than subject every idea to some sort of litmus test. My opponent is a guy that has signed what's called the contract with Nevada, which sounds really nice, but what it is it means that he's made a commitment that he will vote no on absolutely any program that raises taxes or fees, or that does not reduce the overall size of government. And a lot of candidates out there say no taxes, no fees. But when you say that you're going to vote against anything that does not reduce the overall size of government, then that's code for a lot of things. It means that you're going to vote against efforts to expand, for example, benefits for veterans. It means that you're going to vote against, as we talked about, expanding education funding. It means that you're going to vote against social programs that help seniors. And you're going to vote against, frankly, putting more cops on the street, because that costs money, and that's a community safety question that ultimately raises the size of government. So my opponent is a far right Republican who views everything through the litmus test of the contract with Nevada. That's not good for Nevadans. That's not good for common sense, and so I represent the reasonable middle, which is where most Nevadans, most Americans, frankly, find themselves. There's a D next to my name. I am a Democrat. However, I believe that progress comes from consensus, and consensus comes from the middle. And I'm the candidate that represents that middle. And that's where I think most of the voters are. And that's what I think all of our voters ultimately want Carson City to go.
Sean, we really appreciate your time tonight. Two quick things. First, we'll be releasing our endorsements by the end of the month.
Perfect.
We're going to have one more makeup. I don't know if I said this earlier. I got to be honest, it all blurs together.
Yeah,
at the
no,
end of
it's
the day.
fine.
We'll be having an additional weekday evening makeup session on the 28th for a few people who could not come in on the weekends. We would have that earlier. We normally would try and do that makeup day this week. However, this Saturday we have our 13th annual Asian American Group Awards Banquet at the TI.
Nice.
It's going from 5:30 to 7 is our cocktail hour. From 7 till 9 is our actual program. We are honoring 13 different individuals from the greater Las Vegas area who have given their time and effort and energy to making just the greater Las Vegas area a better place. Doctors, and people who've started charitable foundations.
The Las Vegas Chamber of Commerce, the president of
The Chamber of Commerce, who does a great deal of community work that kind of goes unsung.
Right.
And that serves as our main fundraiser for the year.
Sure.
Last year we gave out over 1,000 turkeys
and 1,000 toys.
and 1,000 toys to various underprivileged schools up in North Las Vegas and in just economically depressed areas. This year our goal is 2,000. If you are in town, you're more than welcome to stop by. I will personally send out to your email address.
Yeah.
I'll personally send out all the details sometime tomorrow afternoon after my morning court appearances.
Right.
But please do join us if you do have the opportunity.
Yeah.
We're anticipating between 400 to 450 people there.
Nice.
So we have Sister Act coming there, Dina Titus is coming,
Oh, good.
is coming, all confirmed. About 400 plus.
Fantastic.
It's a fundraiser basically for the needy people,
Yeah.
So we'll appreciate your attending.
Yeah.
And the last thing, we'd love to take a photograph with you out front
Sure.
in the middle of the dance floor.
Yeah, no problem.
Hopefully we can find you a suitable partner out there.
Yeah, I'm sure. Thank you so much.